Hey folks, it's John Chrastka, Executive Director for EveryLibrary and the EveryLibrary Institute. It is July 3rd, July 3rd, 2023, 2025. My goodness, folks, a little bit of technology right at the beginning. Hi everybody, it's John Chrastka, EveryLibrary and the EveryLibrary Institute. It is July 3rd, 2025. We are coming at you live right this moment, as you can tell, because it is the end of the civic season. A time between Juneteenth and July 4th when Americans are called on to dig in again on our democracy, to think through together out loud what kind of society do we want to live in, and libraries are certainly a part of that conversation. I wanted to check in with you a little bit as we're wrapping up the civic season 2025 about the idea that libraries are core to democracy, and that every library as an organization that supports libraries is your partner in seeing those civic ideals come true, and that small d democratic ideal in our democratic republic come to fruition. Folks, the mission of libraries is democracy. We tend to think about libraries as literacy, don't get me wrong. That's what they do all day, every day. But on election days, on days that big decisions need to be made, on days when neighbors have to come together and discuss the big issues, that democracy mission is just as important. In fact, it might even be bigger than the literacy mission as well. Libraries are a leveler. Libraries provide access. Libraries create infrastructure in very true and meaningful ways around civics, around the democratic experience, the access to the ballot. And we are at a moment right now in America where some of those key elements of civil society, of civil liberties, and of civil rights are under some pretty grave threats. Libraries stand at the crossroads of that, and libraries are somewhat, but not entirely, prepared for it. Here at EveryLibrary, the nation's first political action committee for libraries, and the EveryLibrary Institute, which is public policy, tax policy, education policy think tank for libraries, we work on shoring up the work that individual public libraries do, that school librarians are able to accomplish in their schools, that academic libraries do on their campuses, because it is fraught. We bring the American public every day to help support libraries as institutions and librarians as enactors of solutions to problems for Americans. We bring the public to those conversations because the librarians themselves are not necessarily able to do that. While we are a small d democracy, small r republic focused organization as a library, we are also part of government. We don't take sides, and neither does EveryLibrary. We're a nonpartisan pro-library organization, but that neutrality that libraries have, that place that is apart from the fray, makes them vulnerable. And librarians in particular are very vulnerable right now in this American moment. EveryLibrary works to ensure that libraries have the resources that they need, the funding, the structures, the government, the laws that they need in place, and that librarians have what they need as well. During the civic season, we wanted to highlight that in a particular way. And thank you who are our supporters. Thank you, folks who support libraries in general. I want to unpack a couple things for you in particular about how we do the work that we do, how we center libraries and librarians in our work, and how we bring the American public to it. Whenever we work on a campaign, there's always an intersection point, as I said, about civil liberties, civil rights, and civil society. Because we think about the library itself as a First Amendment organization. Of course, civil liberties are at play there. We need to think more about libraries as a civil rights organization. And in a certain respect, it's that 14th Amendment play that says we have equal protection. And also civil society, because libraries are not in the United States Constitution. In fact, they're not in any state constitution. They're in state laws. It's a 10th Amendment conversation that we're trying to do with Americans about their structure of government and how we choose to govern ourselves, how we choose to tax ourselves, and how we choose to express our rights in this small d democratic organization that is the library. On the civil liberties side, our organization, EveryLibrary, does two big things. We host a platform called fightforthefirst.org. that allows everyday Americans who are upset about, who are facing censorship and discrimination campaigns, who want to hold the line for the First Amendment in their communities or fight back when their rights as readers have been abrogated by a bad school board or a difficult library board. When special interest groups that want to erase stories and therefore erase people come in, fightforthefirst.org is one of our sites that has done some incredible work. We've had 142 local level campaigns that oppose censorship and oppose discrimination in zip codes and single school districts. By our reckoning, we've been involved in 55% of all of the anti-censorship campaigns in this country over the last 2 years, and we're helping to put books back on the shelf. I need everyone who cares about the First Amendment, the civil liberties in libraries, to help show up across these dozens and dozens and dozens of communities, to help us put those books back on the shelf as we help those local folks who we put at the middle of our campaigns get their rights back or keep their rights from eroding. Fightforthefirst.org allows you also, if you're in trouble, to onboard a campaign to fight for your rights in your local community in as quick as 6 minutes. It's great to be able to meet people who want to support libraries and readers everywhere. I hate doing it under these circumstances, but I'm glad that we can come through at the other end with you. The other thing that we are doing on the civil liberties side is that we're talking about libraries 2025. That, folks, we have a right to elections in this country, and the right to participate in elections sometimes is taken for granted, and I think we're past that point in this current moment in America. Libraries 2025 is helping connect Americans from all walks of life at all levels of government with the big issues that are on the ballot, helping them find pathways to enfranchisement, helping them get registered to vote, and then once they come to that ballot box, knowing what is on the ballot that affects the libraries. Whether you're a believer in the library as a literacy node or a community good or a hub of creativity, Libraries 2025 will tell you what's on the ballot because we would like folks, we're a nonpartisan pro-library organization. That's the whole point. Helping people make that that election day facing endorsement of their library. All right, on the civil rights side, civil rights in libraries is underappreciated. We have a very good vocabulary about the First Amendment, but we'd like to suggest that the First Amendment is why we keep a book on the shelf. Why do we retain the book? Why does it stay? It's your free speech rights. It's the right to access information. Why do we bring the book in the library in the first place? And why do we bring the book in the library in the first place is an important conversation in our democracy, because democracies are messy places, of course, but democracies are also the majority rule. And majority rule in a library is not a very pleasant thing, because if the only books that are in the library are comfortable and interesting to the majority, then I think we have a problem. We don't have a library. We don't have a public library or a school library or an academic library for that matter. We have somebody's private reading room or a government's perspective. So we focus on civil rights as the intake for books in addition to good books. Everybody loves a good book. We do a lot of programming right now on connecting authors to readers, all of our EveryLibrary live festivals. We love reading in the majority and in the minority as well. Civil rights says that a book might make a member of the majority, whether it's an ethnic or racial majority, a religious majority, a sexual or gender majority. A book might make a member of the majority uncomfortable, but it's still relevant to a minority population. And civil rights law says we don't turn away people at the front door of the library based on the color of their skin, if they're wearing a rainbow flag pin, their creed or religion. Why are we taking their books off the shelf? And that civil rights conversation about placing the book on the shelf that says if that book is relevant, then that book has a place in addition to being of interest to the majority population. We have done something very important here at EveryLibrary and the EveryLibrary Institute, which is to work on the Libraries for All Act. And if you're a West Wing fan like me and you like a walk and talk, I'll talk to you all day long about what the Libraries for All Act is intended to do, but it's intended to center public accommodation and civil rights law in a conversation about why do we bring the book in the library in the first place. So that when the First Amendment is applied, which is why do we keep the book? Because of your free speech rights. We have a comprehensive approach that doesn't negate human beings and their stories. On the other part of our work on civil rights is that we work on, again, elections. Our Vote Libraries initiative, which is intended to help at each and every public library and academic library, and also school libraries when it comes to the teaching around civics and education about our own elections. Vote Libraries is intended to help libraries become a very robust node in accessing the ballot. Election administration is the term of art that's used. Are libraries able to help voters get registered? Yes, they are. In many states, they're mandated voter registrars themselves. The staff is. But how do we protect that in a time when voting rights are being eroded? Access to the ballot, access to polling places, libraries as polling places, and the mis and disinformation that goes on. I mean, social media, we're watching it here on either Facebook Live or YouTube Live, and we know what kind of a Wild West that is. VoteLibraries.org is intended to help support the enfranchisement of more Americans by ensuring that libraries are able to meet every voter where they are at, every potential voter especially. And then on our triptych of civil liberties, First Amendment, civil rights, why do we have books on the shelf in the first place? We have civil society, which is very interesting to me because so many of our campaigns are not done by folks who are civil liberties people. They're not done by civil rights people. They're done by folks who just want to have their neighborhood, I mean, their town, their school, their campus go the right way or not slide downhill. Civil society is underappreciated in these conversations, and it is nonpartisan or it's multi-partisan. I mean, folks from all walks of life get together and they say that we would like to have a decent place to live where we treat our neighbors with some equanimity, that every kid's got a fair shake, and that everybody's got not a handout, but a handout maybe. That civil society conversation extends to how we've been running at EveryLibrary ballot measures since we got started at the end of 2012. We've done 150 plus local library ballot measures where we've helped take a library to the ballot and say we would like to change the tax code in order to fund the common good. And we are working right now in a couple of different ways with school communities, in particular, our Save School Librarians initiative. If you know a school library community that's under threat of job cuts, especially as we go steaming into the 2025-2026 school year, we want to help them fight unfair job cuts and preserve those positions that are so vital in each and every school. We're on the ground right now in material ways on the fight for the integrity of the Federal Institute of Museum and Library Services. The Fund IMLS.org campaign is a successor campaign to the Save IMLS campaign, which was going on from when President Trump issued his executive order back on March 14th to close the Institute. I think we've gotten far enough. I think we've gotten far enough in the courts in particular and under the statutory obligations of Congress that compel the IMLS to continue its funding. I think we've gotten far enough that we're going to see it held in place for 2025, but fiscal 2026, folks, whatever happens with that big, beautiful bill getting implemented, that whatever happens with the budget, we need to have some federal infrastructure and your voice, the voice of your friends and your family and your colleagues across libraries around people who care, sending them to fundimls.org will go a long way. And likewise, the overreach that's happening right now on the part of President Trump into the Library of Congress, the issues that are very much constitutional about the separation of powers, the first Article 1 and Article 2 side of things, we want to make sure that the integrity of the Library of Congress is preserved. As a mission-driven organization that supports libraries, supports Americans, supports our democracy, the Library of Congress needs a particular kind of love today. SaveTheLOC.org. I know that you're thinking to yourself, John, that was a nice commercial about EveryLibrary, but the nicest thing that I get to do is I get to get up every morning and work with folks on Fight for the First campaigns who want to preserve, protect, defend, and extend the First Amendment in their communities. I get to wake up in the morning and go to work with colleagues of mine here at EveryLibrary who are setting up sites like Vote Libraries and Fund Libraries, my colleague Sanober, my colleague Ashley, who's doing the campaign work that takes us to our next 150 ballot measures. my colleague Patrick and my colleague Peter, my colleague Martha, who are all working on these different components of our civil society platforms that connect Americans to the big issues. Folks, we're in a good spot here at EveryLibrary as a group that is working uniquely on the structure of government, on that small d democracy side of what libraries do. And if you're interested in rounding out this civic season with us, all of these different links are here in the post. But most importantly, I need a little help. We are looking to do some fundraising right now to take us from the 4th of July weekend to the Labor Day weekend. From the Labor Day weekend into election days in 2025, there's 4 states on the ballot. There's a ton of local elections going on, and there's a big fight that's to be had about the federal budget and several state budgets as well. Folks, we have a beautiful opportunity with our friends over at Library Juice Academy. They're doing a one-to-one match on the first $3,500 of donations that are made through everylibrary.org/match. everylibrary.org/match. Every day we put money to work to make sure that we can support libraries and librarians in their fights. I hope you can join us even as this civic season is coming to an end, because we've got a lot of work to do as we're steaming ahead through the rest of this year. If you need any help from EveryLibrary, we do all of our work pro bono and for free. We do all of our work pro bono and for free in support of local communities, school districts, school librarianship, state library initiatives, and God bless America, what's going on in Congress right now because of our donors. All right, team, thank you very much for taking a few minutes with me today. I wanted to spend a little bit of time thinking out loud with you about what are some of those solutions when we run into problems. And I hope that you can join me in being a part of those solutions together. You've been very kind to me today. See you around the internets, and please be in touch.